Now, Kenya's new and fifth administration is days old in office, but is facing perennial problems, signaling a short-lived honeymoon. From ravaging drought to insecurity, the Ruto-led administration says it's putting its best foot forward. Or is it? From a yet-to-be-named cabinet to a backlash on religiosity, we look at the promises and realities on Pundit's Night. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. As always, remember you can be part of this discussion. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pundit's Night. Let me introduce our panel for the night. So, Member of Parliament David Kiplangat, Kangema Member of Parliament Peter Kihungi. We had equally invited Fred Okango, who is the Political Affairs Secretary General of KANU. Gentlemen, nonetheless, good evening, and thank you for your time tonight on TV47.
Okay, thank you very much.
2 weeks in power in the Ruto administration. What are, in your view, the hits and the misses? David, let me start with you.
2 weeks in power, I give him 95% on the quick wins. You know, we had promised during campaigns that the issue of the judiciary, that is the 6 judges of the Court of Appeal, that one has been done with. We had the issue of fertilizer, that is a subsidy. That one has been done with. Now we have the issue of the Hustlers Fund. It is in the process, and I can tell you when the cabinet is named, one of the key ministries that is going to implement the Hustlers Fund, that is the cooperative and SMEs, will be in place. And as Parliament, we are going to fast track the laws that are required and also the policies on it. Within 100 days, that one will have been done. So
and
far.
Mheshimiwa, where as you are true that the President, I almost called him the Deputy President. I think that's what we knew for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
The President has implemented some of the promises he promised.
Yeah.
Is in 95% in 2 weeks' time too high yet?
I think if you look at the situation we found the country in, it was in dire situation. You can imagine a situation whereby over 23 billion was spent without Parliament's approval, including the Unga subsidy. And the level at which we found the treasury was at its deathbed. So coming out of it, and also we had to tell our people the truth. The issue of subsidies are unsustainable because subsidies are meant for short term, but when you do it long term, they become unsustainable. So we also have to tell ourselves the truth that if we are to bring this economy to where we need to, then we have to tighten the belt, we have to do away with the subsidies, and then we invest more in production. Absolutely,
and we will interrogate that 95%, I believe, for the next 1 hour. Yeah. Let me get to Kangema Member of Parliament Peter Kihungi, who is with us. Mheshimiwa, equally, perhaps the same question. What, in your view, are the hits and misses? 2 weeks in power for the Ruto administration.
Okay, thank you very much. Mine, first of all, is that we started with a petition at Supreme Court. And the management of petition also is the one of the most important thing, because our competitors, they brought drama with a lorry, with the big things, with lorry, the cartons, but they did not prepare on the petition. Therefore, one of the most important thing to understand as Kenyans and as Kenya Kwanza is that our president is a very organized person. We did it in a silent way, very organized, and we won the petition. After the petition now, there was issues of parliament, whereby we had to choose the speaker for Senate and speaker for the National Assembly. You see, that also needed management and organization so that we can be able to make our people to hold together, and we move together to the issue of electing a speaker and the deputy speaker for the two houses.
And you believe he played a pivotal role in that?
He played a pivotal role by bringing the team together, having us together, and giving us a direction and why. And also the promises that he had made to our people, to the leaders who were supporting him, that is Wetangula, that is Kingi. Therefore, one of the things is that we have moved consistently on the promises. We have moved consistently on how he had planned, mostly on an issue of election. An issue of election sometimes can be very tricky. And also, the way we see the party holding together. You see, the principles, they were a bit good number. And up to now, the principles are still holding together. That's also his character of management and taking control of the leadership of the party and the country. Therefore, we feel that, as he's putting it, He has not missed. He has not missed at all. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We are talking of politics and the persona. Now I want us to talk of the president now, William Samoei Ruto. Mheshimiwa David Kiplangat, how much of Ruto do you see Moi in? There are those who say he perfectly plays the political playbook of Kenya's second president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi.
So maybe I might not want to compare and contrast the two. But what I can say about our president, William Samoei Ruto, is hands-on. He's a very smart president. He listens. He listens to technocrats. And then before he makes any decision, he has weighed all the options. And I can remember when the interrogation that went through our major hits on the manifesto, that is the issue of housing, the issue of health, the issue of agriculture. We were able to integrate to interrogate all manner of models so that we can come with a very clear picture on which direction the government needs to go. So he's hands-on, and I believe we shall get more of him. And I believe if within these 5 years, if he continues on that trajectory, we shall, as Kenyans, we are going to achieve a lot.
Mheshimiwa Peter, as you react to what David is saying, there are those who view some of the policy pronouncements publicly as though they are rushed and hurried. The Morocco and Sahrawi diplomatic tiff, for instance, the mentioning of the amount of money left at the Treasury. Of course, Treasury CS, Ukuri Atani, debunked that. The forest farming declaration by the Deputy President. There are those who are taking issue with the policy pronouncements and how they are done.
I think one of the most important things is that as a country, we have been going through a very harsh time. And we need to put hope to our people, to create hope. And some of these pronouncements are a pronouncement that mostly can be able, like you see the issue of the Shaba system. The Shaba system, I don't think where is an issue that needs a lot of legislation, because these are forests whereby they are exotic trees, whereby after harvesting, you need now to open up for Shaba system so that people can be able to farm as they plant trees, which is a formality that goes continuously.
But therefore, isn't the criticism that that has been abused and it stands a chance to be abused again?
Chances of abuse, I don't know, because you see like Abadea forest on the side of where the Abadea, like the side of Moranga, Abadea, we don't have a Shaba system in those areas because there are no exotic trees. Mm-hmm. But whenever there is exotic trees, until they are grown up, you have to harvest. Immediately after harvest, you open up for Shaba system because it's the best that helps as the farmers cultivate, they help in taking care of the young trees. Uh-huh. And it has never missed. Therefore, one thing is the pronouncement mostly is to give our people hope. Is to give our people hope that things are moving on well. People want to hear. You see now he doesn't have a cabinet, he doesn't have a minister, the parliament has not started. Uh-huh. But Kenyans don't need to wait until the cabinet has come, the legislation has started. They just want to feel that we are moving as a country, and there are things that they are looking forward to be seen that they are working. He has to do them. Therefore, we must open and give him time, that opening, that he has to keep on informing Kenyans. These are the things that we are doing, mostly for the progress of the country. But immediately we have the parliament and we have the system. I know he's a person who respects the rule of law and a person who respects the institutions. Therefore, parliament will take his charge, the ministers, the cabinet, everybody will take his charge.
Mheshimiwa David, perhaps the same question. Some of the policy pronouncements are some of the things being criticized for the new administration.
Maybe from what I can say is that the government has to move on. Some of the policy pronouncements, they are still at the initial stage. You remember the cabinet that is currently is the outgoing cabinet. So far the ministries are not in place, the PSS are not in place. So I think what we can say is that as Kenyans, we need to give the government the benefit of doubt, because it is 2 weeks old. So you don't need to charge it very harshly. But going back to the Shamba system, I believe initially I think we are also becoming too sensitive, because if you see the current problems that we have as a country is that we have a food shortage. And if we can do anything that increases food production, that is, if we can increase the acreage in which we farm maybe maize, and we increase our food production, then there is no need of importing maize or the prices going up to a certain situation whereby you need to go for a subsidy. And you remember the subsidy that was given a year, it cobbled a whole 7 billion. So you can imagine, so we need to look at the situation the government finds itself in, and we have this land that we can be able to plant as the trees are growing, and when the trees are overgrown, the farmers will just leave and go to somewhere else. And that thing has been happening 20 years, 30 years down the line. It used to happen. So I think we have become so much sensitive on the forest to a situation whereby we don't look at the other side of the coin, where we need food on the table.
Mheshimiwa Peter, we are talking of drought, we are talking of insecurity in Turkana. This to many seems as though it is baptism by fire, whereas the president has been the deputy president for the last 10 years. Okay. Does it seem as though it is baptism by fire?
Yeah, you see, when you take power and you fight crisis, mostly that's, I can put it as you have put it, as a baptism by fire, but he's up to the task. Because one of the most important things is whenever such a thing comes in, he has a solution in the head, whereby he has come up with the provision of food to those who are drought stricken. Therefore, one thing I know is that he's acting on the right way, because coming out to accept and to give direction, whereby like today they have released around 40,000 bags of maize and rice, and they are going to do it on Friday. That thing by itself is that it shows that he's up to task, and he's able now to work out on the management of the government, whereby even if he doesn't have a cabinet, he's comfortably. The most important thing is that he's comfortably working with the current system, the current CSs, the current PSs, mostly who were politically against him. But he has put that behind him. He has focused on Kenyans. He has focused on whatever Kenyans are going through. Therefore, that's a baptism by fire by itself, because it's a charity that comes immediately. But the way he has acted or not, it has shown this a person who have a very high leadership character. Because for him, he has not looked on the character of the people that in those ministries. We know how they behaved, how they were handling him, how they were talking, but he did not consider that. He's working with them, looking for solution, and not to get that money for buying the relief food. That was a plan whereby they had to sit together, they had to discuss. Therefore, that's a very great character of leadership. And I know one thing is that what we are doing, as my colleague is saying, that the president have focused on making Kenya food dependent. And when we move on that direction, I know this country will move far and will be able to grow the economy. Because whenever we cannot be able to feed ourselves, our country can never be able to improve in anything or in any area of economy. Because we will be using our finances on spending on buying food, and our country is an agricultural country, instead of using our finances for production and make our farmers rich and make our Kenyans food dependent. Therefore, one thing is that he has acted smart, and I know even the issue of insecurity in Turkana, I know he's up to task. You see him working on it.
I want us to move away from the general issues and get to the specifics of the House you are representatives of, which is Parliament. But perhaps one final question on the generalities. The President is yet to name his cabinet. How tough is it, or easy is it? What interests is he balancing as a politician and as a president himself? David?
Of course, you know, when you are before you form a government, you have to consult. First of all, there are some agreements. You know, we are in Kenya Kwanza, and in Kenya Kwanza, it's a coalition of parties. That's one of the interests that needs to be balanced. There was also the issue of when we were doing the campaigns, what we committed, especially on the gender issue, that 50% of the cabinet will be women. So that's
Is it realistic?
Okay, we leave it to the president to decide, but that's a commitment. That's a commitment, and as he said, he intends to keep his commitment. So that's something that we also need to watch. And then now there, you see, when we went to an election, so many leaders whom we fought together to make sure that this government in place didn't make it in one way or another. So that adds another challenge that you need to see what to do. The beauty I'm looking at is that currently the Public Service Commission, what they are doing public participation on the issue of chief administrative secretaries, the well-known as CAS. So when those ones are there, the CAS, you know, there are quite a number. We shall be able to balance them.
Even though a court of law declared they are unconstitutional?
No, the court of law, it declared unconstitutional because there was no public participation and it didn't pass through the Public Service Commission. And that is what we are trying to correct. You have seen the advert from the Public Service Commission. They have done the public participation. From there, they will those interested will be told to apply so that we follow the law, because it was declared unconstitutional because the Public Service Commission was not engaged on the issue and there was no public participation, and that is what we are correcting on. So I believe if we can bring back the CAS and then we balance all the interests, it will be a bit easier. It will be a bit easier, and the country will not have to wait for long. I believe between this week and next week, we shall be having a cabinet. We shall be having a cabinet that will be named so that Parliament can take the other process through the appointments committee. They can be able to be vetted so that at least we have a cabinet in place as the PSS are also coming.
Mheshimiwa Peter, some of the names floated around are of politicians who have been elected and some who have lost in the just concluded election. But there's equally the question of technocrat. What kind of a balance is the president, in your view, doing between rewarding loyalties politically and technocrats who will deliver on his agenda?
Okay, one thing is that it's a big challenge. Let me tell you, we are struggling with our small constituencies. Even as we are trying to balance our leaders. We have the CDF and whatever. You are trying to manage to balance the in a constituency, then you are left wondering how the president is doing the whole country. But one thing I have to say is that the issue to do with the balancing, one thing I know is that the president is a person who keeps promise. And therefore, whatever they had discussed with his principals is not a person who changes goals. He has kept the goal. But now the challenge I know is the balancing on the issue of gender, the issue of social, as you are putting on technocrat. But one thing I want to say, the issue to do with the cabinet secretary. A cabinet secretary mostly can be a technocrat. But a cabinet secretary still plays a role almost the policy role. Because the permanent secretary or the principal secretary, that's the accounting officer who is technical. Whenever we have cabinet secretaries who are extremely technocrat, they are very hard to deal with. We have seen them in the Uhuru's administration. These people have been difficult. These people don't respect leaders, don't listen to Wajiko, because a cabinet secretary should somehow have some political aspect, whereby he reasons politically, because his boss is holding a political office. But whenever somebody comes with his technocrat, doesn't listen, doesn't value the opinion of our people, doesn't value the opinion of a young person or the Wajiko or down there, it becomes very difficult even dealing with the MPs.
But therefore, is there not a risk if you are to have many politicians in your cabinet as a president?
One thing we must understand is that most of us politicians, we are also technocrats in some ways. It's only that we just find ourselves in politics.
It's the politics that dominates.
It's the politics that dominates. Yeah, therefore most of the people, they are very good. They are very smart. They are very smart whenever it comes to operation and implementation, and also whenever they are using the technical part of it. Therefore, one thing I have to say is that I know there will be a mix-up between the technocrat and the politicians, but I know this government will be able to resonate with Wajiko, a government that is not too far, whereby you can't be able to meet the cabinet secretary, you can't reason with the cabinet secretary doesn't have time with the elected leaders. Therefore,
and it's good that you talk of a government that is easily accessible.
Yeah.
One of the promises that the then Deputy President, now the President, made was he will form a government reflective of Boda Boda and Mama Mboga. From the names at least floated around, there is no Mama Mboga, there is no Boda Boda person, isn't it? Was that a political statement, perhaps?
No, it's not a political statement. It's that now, whenever, let's put, for example, whenever you have somebody like Moses Kuria as a cabinet secretary, that guy is very smart on issues to do with finances. It's a person who has run a bank as a CEO. Therefore, it's a person who is very smart. But it's a person who resonates with everybody. A Boda Boda feels comfortable interacting with him. Everybody feels just comfortable interacting with them. What we say is that whenever he puts it as a Boda Boda and a Mama Mboga, he just puts them that they will have access. Even the president himself, whenever a Mama Mboga or a Boda Boda want to interact with you, it just interact with them very comfortably. Therefore, the concept here is put that they will feel be represented. But if you have a Boda Boda...
The promise was very specific, isn't it? We will have Boda Boda riders, we will have Mama Mboga in government. Not access in government. David, go ahead.
Maybe just to add on it, you see there is the literal meaning, and there is the other meaning of it. So if we take the other meaning of it, when we say that in our Kenya Kwanza government, the Mama Mboga and the Boda Bodas will be in the government, what literally that we mean is that all the policies and the agenda that will be taking the front line will be issues to sort the Kenyans who are at the bottom of the pyramid. And as I had said, we are taking it very seriously, and we are saying within 100 days we need the Hustlers Fund to be in place. And the Hustlers Fund is to make sure that at least those people at the bottom of the pyramid can feel that they are represented in the government, they are part of the government, because their issues is actually on the main table where issues are being discussed. So that is what we mean by that. And there is nothing that stops the president from, when he's naming his cabinet, if he gets a Kenyan that is capable of doing that, and maybe is a Mama Mboga or a Boda Boda being incorporated into the cabinet, there is nothing that stops. So we are just on speculative. But the main thing we are saying is that the issues of those Kenyans who are at the bottom of the pyramid should be well represented within the government.
All right, you're watching Pundits Night. Remember, you can be part of these discussions. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pundits Night. Just a reminder of who our guests are. So, Member of Parliament David Kiplangat, Kangema Member of Parliament Peter Kihungi. We had equally invited, for purposes of fairness, Fred Okango, who is the KANU Political Affairs Secretary General. Gentlemen, let's talk of the House you are members of. You are among the newly elected members of Parliament on the 9th of August election, sworn into office, went through an induction, I believe, last week. How is the experience like so far?
Okay, thank you very much. The induction was very organized, and we were taken through the aspect on mostly of the House operations. We are taken through the House, and also on how to legislate on bills. And we are encouraged mostly as members to start as early as possible. If you have a bill to come up with, you start as early as possible. There are structures in Parliament whereby if you want to come up with a bill, there are structures that are set, and we have been guided on how to work with them to do our own bills, and also a statement, a message in Parliament. Therefore, and also the President himself has been encouraging us that we make use of the House, so that we may be using the House mostly to make sure that mostly we are discussing the pertinent issue to do with our people. Therefore, we are prepared. We are looking forward for opening on Wednesday, so that we can start off immediately with a maiden speech, and then we go ahead and come up with the legislations that will be able to assist and uplift the lives of our people.
Mheshimiwa David, often there is the discussion of the functions of Parliament and what really people think members of Parliament should do. And whereas the functions are clear of representation, oversight, and legislation, is there a misunderstanding, rather, of what a member of Parliament should do, particularly among the voters?
I think there is a clear misunderstanding on what the voters think that members of parliament will do, and and functionally what the constitution provides us to be able to do, because where I come from as a member of parliament for Soi, there are quite a number of issues that our voters have, and they expect that the member of parliament will be able to sort. There are issues to do with the funeral, there are issues to do with school fees, there are issues to do with weddings, there are issues, all manner of issues that there is of building schools. So there are quite a number of issues that we need to sort that has not been reflected in the constitution, while the constitution provides that the way you had mentioned, the issues of oversight, the issue of representation and legislation. So we have to mix, we cannot run away, and we have been made the issue that we have CDF. CDF sorts quite a lot of those issues, including the bursaries, including building schools, including making sure that the provision of other facilities are provided. So at least it mixes well. But the way the voter understands the role of member of parliament is clearly in deviation with the way the constitution has put it. So there's a lot of public participation to be done. I believe if public participation can be done so that the Kenyan voter knows actually what the member of parliament is supposed to do, it will assist a great
David, you talk of some of the things member of parliament do beyond their constitutional requirements of the three functions. And there has been quite a discussion last week between Parliament and the SRC, the Salaries Remuneration Commission. One would argue you are elected, you vied, you clearly knew some of the troubles ahead of you. You are seeking an office that comes with some of the bargains that we are talking of now.
So maybe something should be clear, and I think SRC should they are sometimes play monkey business so that maybe members of parliament are seen to be greedy. You can imagine if you have remunerations within the period of 2017 to 2022, then all of a sudden when members of parliament are campaigning, you introduce some other figures and you even reduce against the labor laws. So what we are just telling SRC is that let them be consistent with what members pay. Let them not make politics out of members pay, because I think they either like politics or I don't know what they like most. So it brings some problems when the voters hear that we have a lot of issues that we need to sort that affects the ordinary Kenyans. So if we continue discussing the members of parliament pay, and I can tell you it is the introduction of the SRC that messes up and likes to play monkey business when the leaders are campaigning, so that to be seen that it now becomes a discussion of sorting this, why are you removing this, and it was there, why are you removing. You can imagine, Abubakar, if you wake up tomorrow and come to TV 47 and you realize your salary has been slashed from maybe 100,000 to 50,000, how will you feel? You know, that's the basic question that we are asking SRC is let them be consistent.
All right, Mheshimiwa Peter, perhaps the same question. Is there a misunderstanding of what the functions are and what the expectations from the electorate is?
Yeah, there is a misunderstanding between our voters, whereby sometimes the issue whereby what is constitutional, that is oversight, legislation, and representation. But we cannot run away from the social life. And the worst thing is that we have come to parliament when the economy is hitting on our people. They cannot be able to pay a hospital bill. They cannot be able to pay school fees. They are charity. People are going through hard times. Therefore, we have to persevere this time. We have to, because we are the people who can be seen. Because whenever you get to this position, you are the only person who, everybody who has a problem thinks about you. He thinks about you, he thinks about the MCA. Even people don't think about them so much, and the governor, because they seem to be very far. Therefore, I think what I think we should do, and what we are planning to do, and what I think as a government should do, we should make our people to have a capacity to sustain themselves. And that's what we are saying, that we build the economy through agriculture. Like our counties and our constituencies are in agricultural areas. If a tea farmer is paid well, he doesn't need to come for school fees, to ask me for money to take our children to school. Like our parents, when tea was paying well, they could pay even the school fees for a whole year. Therefore, they were able to grow themselves through the economy, through the agriculture. Therefore, what I'm thinking is that we have to persevere this. We'll go through it. It's so challenging, but we have now to think outside the box. And the way the president is saying, we focus on making our people rich. Immediately, we facilitate them through subsidy, farm inputs, and people are able to produce. This thing will just go down naturally. Therefore, we will go through a very hard time. We will not be able to change this, but we will be able to work with our people in the same. But as we legislate and as we work with them, we try to make them more economically dependent. And I know they will start moving away from depending too much on us, because the only person they know in that constituency who has money is the MP.
Peter, you have a biblical name. I went to a university that taught the Bible to an extent.
Yeah.
The servant, the leader has to be the servant, many would argue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Biblically.
Yeah.
Why not serve? Why ask for a salary increment? I suppose that is the backlash Parliament is facing.
The issue of salary, I don't know SRC somehow, as he's putting it. You see, SRC, if it's genuine on the issue of salary, when the Parliament is on, is moving, and is practically in the before they move out of the Parliament for campaigns, they should register those things, because you can be able to argue. But immediately Parliament has gone on, it says they have gone to campaigns, nobody is in Parliament, then you find they come up with a circular. But the funny thing with the SRC, they don't touch the issues to do with the senior people in the government, the CSs, the PSs, because they are still in office. But they touch for MPs.
Many would argue members of Parliament like you too.
They touch for MPs who are away. Let me put it, the funny thing is that an MP who was there between 2017 and 2022, he knew what he was enjoying. Now immediately he comes, he finds now everything has changed. You see? And when everything has changed, you see, that's a backlash. I wish SRC should work honestly, that during the life of the Parliament, they work on those we argue while still in Parliament. People will support them if they are genuine. But immediately people are in campaigns, you find a circular comes. They have withdrawn this, they have withdrawn this, and the salary doesn't go down. The SRC is getting more by far than a member of Parliament. And this person is not at a contract like us. Us is 5 years. For them, they are going for their life. Yeah?
All right, Mheshimiwa David, the 13th Parliament is quite interesting. You have fifth-timers, people who are serving the fifth term, and you have first-timers like you, and you have quite a number of young people elected to positions of power and influence. You have, I believe, the youngest member of Parliament at 24 years. Yeah. You have a 26-year-old. You have a 31-year-old senator. Is this increase in the number of young people in elective leadership perhaps suggestive of Kenyans' belief in the young people?
Yeah, I think you are very right. So many members of Parliament are young, they are youthful, and it is good for the progression of the country, because as our old leaders are aging, you need the young generation to come so that they can fill their shoes. So it's a good thing, and we really support. What we are calling upon the Speaker is during debate, especially on motions, he balances the House to make sure that our young leaders gets time so that they can also debate and they can be able to learn, because you know, just like in a school, there are chances that the seniors might overshadow the juniors. So, and you see, these are elected members. They represent a constituency, so they need to be given also time so that they can debate and bring up their issues that they are facing in their constituency. So we support. We are really happy with the Kenyans for bringing up the young leaders, and it is now upon the leadership of the House to make sure that they are given the forum so that they can be able to be heard. Yeah.
All right, Mheshimiwa Peter, there is often the claim of Parliament, its role in oversight.
Yeah.
The last 10 years, one would argue there were instances ugly in the parliament where parliament was used as a rubber stamp to effect laws and make changes. How different, in your view, will the 13th parliament be?
Okay. One thing is that I wish to support the independence of its institutions, whereby the executive and the parliament and judiciary should act with independence, whereby parliament is given chance and time to criticize the government operations. And also the executive should not impose issues on parliament. They should reason with parliament and come and convince the parliamentarians. But this parliament, I wish, is the best. I was running in 2017, and thank God I did not go through, because that parliament was just as if it was just part of executive. They just lived in executive. They could not make any decision. You could not criticize. You could not think. You had now to follow the route of the executive. But our parliament, one of the indicators that there will be a lot of independence is when the president says that the minister will be coming to parliament. That's now whereby parliament gets power to interrogate the ministers. They feel that these are people who represent Wajiko. They are answerable to them. But in the previous parliament, that is 2013 and up to 2022, the minister felt whenever they have a good with the president, they don't care what the parliament says and what they want to do. Therefore, whenever the president says that the minister will be answerable to the members of parliament and they will be coming to the floor to answer questions, that's giving power to parliament and giving power to Wajiko. Because now we'll be able now to question them on what they are doing. Therefore, the independence, one thing I think, and the president will put, is that we have mostly Kenya Kwanza. We will have to support the government. But we will support the government out of conviction, but not out of threat and out of intimidation. And that's what the president has promised, that as a parliament, let's play our role independently, but also let's not become as if we are also trying to twist the government. You see, sometimes also people come to twist the government that they say, we will not pass this law until what? Let's reason on reason, whereby we can tell the government, no, this is not the right way. Like now the issue of subsidies that were done on unga and fuel. If they were taken to parliament, the government could have come up with an option instead of spending 23 billion within 2 months, and the country now comes into almost collapse. Therefore, the independence of parliament, the independence of judiciary. Kenya Kwanza is there because of the independence of judiciary. Therefore, one thing I know the president will not want to do is to affect or twist the independent institution.
But for you as a member of parliament, Peter, what is the thin line in supporting what your party wants and what is out of your conviction?
Yeah, the thin line is that now the government might bring something in parliament. And because most of the businesses are done in committee level. And I'll have the independence to tell the government that whatever you have brought and whatever you are saying, it will not work for this country. But I will be able now to give a solution. I'm supposed also to come up with a solution, and I know we'll have forums whereby we can be able to discuss and agree on areas where, what we should do. Because one thing I know is that the problem that was with the previous government is that whatever they were bringing, some of them were not convinced also. Therefore, they did not want the debate. But one of the best things we have, like the time we have been in Naivasha, the president comes and convinces us on the aspect of housing. No, the members of parliament who were opposed to housing, they started saying, well, I wish I knew the former members of parliament who were in the 12th parliament, that is 2017-2022. They said, we wish we knew if we could have been taken through this process and understood what is in the housing. We could have supported it 100%. But the thing was imposed on us, and we were told we have to support it. It has to go through. Therefore, we will be working concurrently whereby the government will be having forums to discuss what they want to bring. We will be putting our opinion. Even in housing, there are areas that we even told the president, it can work on this way, but we can also shift in this right direction. And the president takes our opinion. Therefore, it's a consultative aspect. It's a consultative aspect whereby we can be able to agree and we can be able to criticize each other to agree.
Fair enough. David, perhaps the same question. Party loyalty and personal conviction.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to tell you, Abubakar, this will be the most interesting 13th Parliament because we have also a very interesting president. President who likes consulting, president who likes listening, and president who doesn't get angry whenever your views does not match his. So it will be interesting, and also as he...
We're you to see though, isn't it? He's 2 weeks in power.
As my colleague has said, is that we have promised that we are going to amend the standing orders and also the ennobling law so that we make sure that members of the cabinet, because we are representing the people, can come to the floor of their house and be able to answer questions from Kenyans. And as a representative of the people, we shall be able to ask those pertinent questions. I think that's a huge forum that makes Parliament very interesting. What I want to say is that as Kenya Kwanza Coalition, we are going to support Parliament. We are going to support the government, and in supporting the government, it doesn't mean that we are just rubber stamping everything that the government says. We shall have forums whereby we do our own housekeeping. There will be PG meetings, will be regular, so that we can discuss government business. And once we have discussed government business, then we bring it to the floor of the house so that we are able to support it. So the beauty is there will be another forum where we shall be able to any issues that we are not in agreement, we can be able to air them out. We can be able to agree, and once we have agreed, we come up as a unit. And you have seen, maybe you are wondering how we made sure that we got the speaker and all the speakers of both houses and also the deputy speakers of those houses, because we were able to go to our BG, we agreed, these are our candidates, and we came up as a unit. The president also like consulting so much and bringing those other coalitions that are not with us, so that we can build on the numbers. Also, you will see once the house opens, the issue of majority leader and minority leader. I know that one has been on the headlines of late, but I can tell you there is nothing about it. Our coalition is the majority. All the other stories are just hot air.
Azimio is equally claiming to be the majority in the National Assembly, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a substantial claim they are making. It's not hot air.
It's an issue that we have been able to discuss. And practically, if you are told, if you have majority, you can be able to use that majority to deliver wins on your side. And I can tell you, since the House convened, when we were electing the speaker, our coalition had 215, while theirs they had around 139. While we were electing the deputy speaker, the same. And I can tell you, the majority means that you are many in the house. That is basically it. And may I tell you, Abubakar, we have a constitution in place, and the constitution is very clear that under Article 38 on the political rights, every member and every Kenyan have that right to make choices. You have a right to join any political party.
Absolutely.
And you have a right to come out of it. And what was passed in the 12th Parliament, and I said that it was passed, and you know how the 12th Parliament was working, it was through coercion, and you see every institution, every independent institution had been weaponized. We had the DCI on your head, we had the EACC on your head, we had the police on your head, and I'm very happy that the president has said that let those independent bodies like the police service be independent, and they get their own independent budget so that they can operate independently. But in the 12th Parliament, I think everything that was supposed to go wrong had gone wrong. So they now passed laws which were against the constitution, because when you say that you can join a coalition and you can't get out of that coalition, maybe you are now told the parties have to agree.
All right.
And and it is against the constitution. So what we are saying as Parliament is that once Parliament convenes, first of all, we are the majority. Secondly, those laws that are going against the Constitution, we are going to amend those laws so that we align them with the Constitution. What the Constitution says, we align all our statutes, we align all our laws to what the Constitution says. So what I just wanted to finish is that the issue of who has a majority, but by the way, why do you want to be majority? You become the chair for maybe budget and you are saying you are in opposition. Why do you want to come and table the government's agenda in the committees and you are not in government? Yeah.
All right, it's fair to say that the Speaker will rule on that, on who is the majority and who is not the majority. And the National Assembly Speaker, Ford Kenya Party leader, and the immediate former Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula has promised that he will rule on that objectively.
Maybe on one thing,
yes.
Just before we go forward. When we say majority leader, you see the other name of majority leader is leader of government business. So the Azimio side, they are in opposition. They have no business being leader of government business. I think that is, they also need to read this English and understand, so that before they push on issues, they should not be contradicting themselves. Once they are in opposition, they are going to check government, and then kidogo kidogo they are now saying that they are the majority, they want to be the leader of government business. You know, you cannot have...
again, for purposes of fairness, the Speaker will rule on that.
Yeah.
I want us to conclude the discussion because we are out of time. One final question. The new administration has faced backlash, notably on the religiosity and the number of worship experience and prayer services held at State House. For instance, the First Lady has hosted prophets from Ghana, Nigeria, and prominent leaders of the faith here in Kenya. Whereas the Constitution says and puts it clear that there will be no state religion, there are Kenyans who are taking an issue with quote-unquote overdoing religion. What are your thoughts, Peter?
Mine is the issue of religion, I think, is only people are reading too much. People are reading too much because what happens is that everybody knows the background of His Excellency, the President, the Deputy President, the families. There are people who are Christians in nature, and that's their nature. And therefore, whenever they have prayers in State House, it should not be rude that they can't, whenever they have visitors, maybe from other religions like Muslim, they will not have prayers. Even our meetings, whenever we have meetings where the President is, the first one is we have a Muslim who prays for in Quranic and whatever. Then you have a Christian. Sometimes we have the cultural, therefore aspect. Therefore, what happens is that this era, the era of technology, is that these things are moving too much to the media, and it's seen as if State House is always about prayers. But it's only that that is nature. That is nature, or it could have been for somebody else who may be prescribed to another religion. But that doesn't mean that other religions are irrelevant. Other religions has been given their priority. It's only that the President, being a Christian, being a Pentecostal, is that the Pentecostal have the issue of prophet, they have the issue of pastors and prayers, a lot of prayers. That's why mostly it's seen like that.
Well,
therefore,
you have no problem with the head of state, for instance, holding day after day prayer services at a State House.
There's not, because you see, this country is a country that people believe in God. And everybody and every Kenyan and everybody believes that in everything you have to ascribe to God. God have to give guidance. And one thing we have to say is that we are very grateful to our God, because the election, having election as it has been, as peaceful as it is, it has not been the heart of a man. It is God in it. Therefore, it's only that he's a Pentecostal. But also on the side of other religions, which might not be Pentecostal, they are part of it, because every Kenyan was praying. It's the prayer for all Kenyans. Therefore, as Kenyans, we give a lot of emphasis that it is God who have worked. Therefore, the issue of a number of prayers is that we just want to tell God, you are the one who has done this for this country, why we are peaceful, and we still go to him and tell him, just make our country, don't continue suffering. Therefore, we just need his intervention. Therefore, they are just prayers. It's only that the time that we have the technology, the things whenever they go to media, people believe that in the State House, everything that's going on there is prayers. It just may be less than that minute. Then they go to other business.
All right, Mheshimiwa David Kiplangat.
Yeah. Maybe on that subject, Abubakar, you will also understand where we have come from. I was at Bomas during the announcement of the results, and things that we saw there was only God. Actually, I can confess, only God saved the situation, because the plans of the deep state, you could imagine, it was out of this world. And even during the electioneering period, you could see the amount of the amount of portals we had been put, and the deep state and how they had prepared. It is only God that made the Kenya Kwanza win. So just allow us to rejoice for these few weeks at any forum we'll get, whether it is State House, whether it is my place, whether it is, but you will understand there's a freedom of worship.
Absolutely.
As our constitution is enshrined. So, and also we should also know that we have a new president. He has his own likes and he has his own dislikes. Maybe in the other regime they liked things that were not dealing with tea more, and in this regime we like tea more. So let us enjoy what we like most, and we should not take as an offense whenever we have the likes of the president. Maybe if he likes praying, let us leave him to pray, because actually prayer has made us where we are.
And as we conclude, Mheshimiwa Peter Kihungi, you represent the Kangema constituency people. To the people of Kangema who are watching us tonight, what do you promise them?
Mine is, first of all, to thank Kangema residents for electing me as the IMP, and I continually promise them that I'm prepared to work and to deliver for them, mostly on issues to do with roads. I'm following up a lot on the roads that are going mostly on Mau Mau. I'm working a lot to follow up, and I know the contractor is going very slowly, but we are working very much to see that the issue of infrastructure and in the roads, we have accomplished them. Like now there is another one that we have started with Kera from Kahote to Kainyaine that will start very soon, and also a few interconnection roads. And also I want to promise the issue of water and also issue of agriculture, whereby we will have to come up with registrations to see how we'll be able to improve their lives, mostly on issues to do with tea, because my area is covered by tea and coffee. Therefore, Kangema residents, I'm telling you, I'm planning to work for you. I'm planning to bring technology mostly on issues to do with bursary, whereby we'll be able to see how we can be extremely transparent and people can be able to see clearly that the person who is needed doesn't need to have money, doesn't need to see me. He doesn't need just to come out and say that he needs to be assisted, and will be extremely transparent in our operations. Therefore, the rest of Kangema, just tell them that we are planning to work for them, and the Kenya Kwanza government is working and preparing to work for them, and I know they will be happy by the end of the day.
Mheshimiwa David Kiplangat, to the people of Soi constituency.
Thank you. I want to take this great chance, first of all, to thank the people of Soi for electing me as their member of parliament. What I want to assure them is that what we had set forth when we are campaigning as our manifesto, we intend to fulfill it to the fullest. Secondly, there were issues that came up that were apparent, especially the issue of electricity. It was very key, and I want to assure them that I'm working on it to make sure that everyone who is not connected to the grid gets connected to the grid. All the roads that we had said that they are going to be tarmacked, we are following it with care to make sure that the contractors who are currently working on those roads, they speed it up, and to make sure that the other roads that have not been tarmacked, we are going to push to make sure they are tarmacked. The beauty for the first time is that as Kenya Kwanza, we have the president up to the MCA, all of them are Kenya Kwanza, and we are going to work as a team so that our people can feel the development that we are going to do for the first time, which will be enormous, and it will be life-changing. So let them assured, let them give us support, and we are sure that we shall not let them down.
All right, David Kiplangat is Soi Member of Parliament. Peter Kihungi is Kangema Member of Parliament. Thank you for your time once